From the Samueli Institute headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, this is On Human Flourishing. I'm Dr. Wayne Jonas. We're happy to welcome Susan Samueli as our guest today. As co-founder of Samueli Institute, Susan comes to our show with a background in nutrition with a focus on integrative and alternative health care. For many years, Dr. Samueli had a consulting practice in areas of nutrition, homeopathy, and Chinese herbs. In 1999, Susan and her husband, Henry, developed the Samueli Foundation, a philanthropic center that offers grants to agencies focused on health, social services, religion, education, and the arts. In addition to this, Susan founded the Susan Samueli Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of California, Irvine. In addition, she serves on numerous boards of social, educational, and health organizations. She's also the co-founder with her husband Henry of the Anaheim Ducks national hockey team. It's a pleasure to have you come, Susan. We talk about lots of stuff, but rarely do we get to sit down and actually try to tell other people about what's going on in the Institute. And so it's really a pleasure to be able to sit down in this venue and say, what do we want to tell people about? And I think what I'd be interested in telling people about are the same things you often talked about in these areas. So, Susan, you've been involved in holistic care, integrative care, complementary medicine, in a variety of other things, including many things in Orange County and in philanthropy. But that's only your recent life. Tell me a little bit about your previous life and how you got interested and involved in these things.
Well, first I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me to share my story. And I think I've always been involved in a holistic way of looking at things. When I was very, very young, I would always ask my grandmother if it was healthy to eat this or that. And she would always say, if you eat in moderation, it's healthy. So even from being a very small child, I was interested in nutrition.
Really? I don't think I've heard that one before. Great. Okay. And then how, then later when you got older, you continued that. And how did that happen?
Well, I was very, very lucky. I had just met my husband. It was before we were dating, and a girlfriend and I just brought that in because I was the first time I left him after we were dating, and I was so interested in him I didn't want to leave. But we went to Europe. I went with a girlfriend, and she knew all about homeopathy and used homeopathy. I had never heard the word. I never knew anything about it. And we were in Paris, and I started coming down with a cold, and she suggested I use aconite nap, which is a very good remedy when you're coming down with a cold.
It's a homeopathic remedy.
Homeopathic remedy. And when you get in a breezy, cold area and you get a sore throat, aconite nap works very well. And I felt a miracle. I took it and I said, what is this? Her name was Carol. I said, Carol, what is this? And so when she was a facialist, and she would give me facials. And when we got back to the United States, and she gave me some books. She gave me my very first Materia Medica, and said, "Here's a book. Why don't you read it?" And so I started reading it and getting interested in homeopathy, and then I became obsessed with it.
Is that right? So actually, you and I both got introduced to these things in Europe.
And in France, it was a great place, because that was Hahnemann's last place that he lived and practiced.
Right. So then you began to study it yourself and get more engaged in it, more involved in it?
Yes.
You weren't in healthcare at that time, were you? You were in computers, mathematics?
Right. I was working for IBM. I was a computer programmer for IBM. And but I was always interested in healthy eating. I don't think I ate red meat. I was always going to the health food store, checking things out. So I was always interested in that, and then once I found out about homeopathy, I became obsessed and read everything there was to know about homeopathy. I started practicing on myself for little aches and pains and things that were going on.
Right, and your family then eventually.
Well, ultimately, when Henry and I got married and we had children, I didn't really. He's a scientist, and I was still working for IBM. And when the kids were getting sick, I was never really told them I used homeopathy, but which is pretty funny. But when the kids were getting sick, and I would suggest using different remedies. And I said to him, one of my daughters, my oldest was 4 months old, and the doctor had suggested antibiotics. And I actually put her on, and I didn't like the side effects. And I said to him, maybe we should try some homeopathy and some acidophilus. I'm very much into acidophilus. And so rather than do this antibiotic, and he said, it's usually a virus anyway, so if you whatever you want to do. And he was so amazed with how well she got so quickly that he became interested in homeopathy as well.
Really? So he actually saw the results of it, and that's what
spurred him on, yeah.
Areas,
and now, even today, if he's getting sick, the first thing he does is come to me for me to suggest what he should do first.
Yeah, I remember one time we were hiking in the Grand Canyon, and he had some fatigue problems, and we used a remedy, and it perked right up, and he was able to finish it. So it's that personal experience that both led you and Henry into this field.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Because as you get older, you have a lot of different problems with your health, and we've only found that good nutrition, homeopathy, Chinese herbs, massage therapy, acupuncture, all the modalities are really very useful.
It's all the self-healing type of modalities that stimulate that. Now, you actually then began to practice, didn't you? I mean, you got a doctorate in nutrition, and you began to actually see clients and that type of thing. So.
Yeah, I ultimately, when my kids were a little, I think they're about 2 or 3, and I felt that my knowledge of homeopathy wasn't enough, I went to a very good homeopath with my oldest daughter, and I watched how he practiced. I became very, very motivated to become a homeopath myself. And so I started taking classes, and I have actually a diploma in homeopathy from the British School of Homeopathy. Right. And I have a PhD in nutrition from an alternative school, so which my mother and my husband laugh at because it's an alternative school, but I still have a PhD from there. So ultimately I wanted to practice. So I found a friend who was an acupuncturist who wanted to open a business, and we thought together we might have a business going. So he practiced acupuncture, and I was practicing homeopathy. And our business thrived.
Yeah. This was early on when that was a little rare. I mean, a lot of people now, there are holistic practices around, but this was early on when that really wasn't available.
Oh, yeah. This was very early on. There were very few of us, very few homeopaths. People practicing homeopathy were usually chiropractors, I think.
Right.
Maybe. My friend who practiced homeopathy was an OMD, and Doctor of Oriental Medicine, and acupuncturist.
Naturopathy was just starting. It wasn't really even around.
It wasn't licensed then, and you didn't know too much about naturopathy.
Right. Yeah, so that wasn't an option really for people that wanted to do that at that time.
Not in Southern California, no.
Good. So then what went on after that? So you married Henry. Henry, had a big success in his company, and now you're in a different world. So
so I had a thriving practice, and I enjoyed what I was doing immensely. And then Henry's company took off, and we decided to move from the San Fernando Valley to Orange County. And at that time, I knew it was probably best for me to disband my practice. So Henry, being the nice guy he was, knew how upset I was, said, let's give a couple dollars to university to start an integrated center. Right. And at that time, it was complementary and alternative medicine, now integrated medicine. And that's when I met Dr. Wayne Jonas. When we started that, and we were looking for my interviewer, we were looking for someone to be the executive director of that center. And Wayne and you and I met, and we found our commonality in homeopathy.
So you've been doing things both, and you also started a center at UCI.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's thriving now. A lot of baby steps to get it there. Initially, our center was just about research and teaching some alternative things like nutrition and lifestyle to our students. And we slowly grew. It's over 10 years old now. It slowly grew, and we have a clinic. We're one of the few universities that actually sell herbs and supplements with our acupuncture and our Doctor of Naturopathy. So many of the universities aren't allowed to do that, but our director at that time figured out how to get that past all the university rules. We have massage therapists there, Doctor of Naturopathy, acupuncturists, We have the executive healthcare program there. A pain clinic is there. We also have a cardiologist. So it's growing and growing, and we're getting more and more respect from the physicians at the university, and they're referring a lot of patients to us.
So why did you put it in a university? I mean, that seems to be the most difficult place to put it.
It was the most difficult place to put it. We had a lot of stoppage. I was very interested. I have mathematics in my background. I'm very interested in proving that things work, and I felt the best place to put alternative and complementary medicine in was a university, because what better place to do the research and prove that things work? Because I have no problem. I know it works. I know that homeopathy works. I know that acupuncture works. I know that all these modalities help people get well. And at that time, we needed the research to prove it to the medical.
Right. Which was also one of the reasons the Institute was started.
Exactly.
Right. It seems like things have changed a fair amount since then. I noticed you said that you were trying to get things like nutrition and lifestyle, which were alternative practices at that time, and now more and more nowadays you hear people, that's almost mainstream, at least in language, if not practice. Nutrition has become very important throughout the country, and health is a main part of health. Lifestyle medicine, for example, is becoming common, and many universities are beginning to adopt that. But back when you started this, 15, 20 years ago, those were considered alternatives.
Isn't it amazing that what you eat needs to be an alternative? I mean, it's so clear that what we eat will keep us healthy, and yet it's been such a difficult thing to make people believe that. I mean, physicians don't get taught nutrition in medical schools. It's incredible.
It is incredible, isn't it? And so, and I think some of that, thanks to your work and others, it's now being talked about, and it's being more and more emphasized in medical education. We'll see how long and how intensively it gets taken in. What do you do when the world catches up to you? I think back at some of the terms that we use here at the Samueli Institute that we started off with, like optimal healing environments and total force fitness and health creation and community well-being, and more people actually now are using those terms, and I see it show up in places where we didn't even think we had any influence, and it's become common. What do you do when the world catches up to you? I mean,
well, then you do more.
You do more.
You do more because you feel it's like, yes, people are finally listening to us, but there's so many people that are suffering, and so many people need the kind of care. I mean, we have too much obesity in this country. We have a lot of chronic diseases. We have cancer. We have all these things people need to be taken care of, and good medicine needs to be practiced everywhere. So you don't stop. You just continue until that happens throughout the United States and then globally.
Right. Now, it seems to me that when you started, we needed the research, we needed to get the concepts across, and that now more and more of these concepts are getting across. But the challenge is now, how do they get out and available to the public?
Exactly. And that's one of the things we're doing at our integrated center at the university in Southern California is the same, is just that, is trying to get this out to the public. And we're trying to look at the community and have them understand what we're doing. So that integrated center is going to grow in order that our entire Orange County community will be able to use alternative and complementary medicine or integrated medicine.
Right. So you're trying to expand this into Orange County, and as I understand, especially into some of the community health centers, some of the underserved areas that don't really have access to these.
Exactly. Many of the hospitals have tried to implement integrative health care, and they have not been successful. And I think the fact that we're actually successful, we're actually seeing that we could do this, not by losing too much money, but maybe breaking even. It's pretty hard to make money in an integrated center. We found that to be true, and that's why so many of the centers have failed. But we keep plugging away and seeing if we can do this at least to break even, and then teach other people how to do this.
Yes. I'm going to put you on the spot here briefly. Of all the integrative practices and things that you've been involved in and has done, which ones do you think are the most impactful and most innovative for the public?
Well, I think movement and nutrition are probably the most impactful and something that everyone can adopt. So constantly moving, And that means just taking a walk once in a while, but really moving and actually eating good food is the most important thing you can do for yourself.
So the nutrition and the activity are the most important. And so are those things that you're trying to lead and push out in the Orange County area?
Well, we're trying to do that, especially healthy eating. The movement part we haven't really attacked, but the healthy eating we have, and we're really beginning to do that.
Right.
So that, I mean, even our Discovery Science Center, which is a museum for children, is adopting healthy eating and community eating practices and an ability to teach the community. They get so many kids there and so many adults there throughout Orange County. It's a great way to actually share how to eat healthfully. They talk about movement as well. So we're trying every way we can to get the word out. There's just too much obesity in the world today.
So it sounds like you're moving outside of academia and really trying to go out into the community, like in the museum or an educational center and the community health centers, to really make it available to the public in these areas. So talk a little bit about the Institute, if you will. I know that that's something that has been you've been involved in and near and dear to your heart. We're working, as you know, to try to have national impact. So research, policy, education. But you've asked us also to get into this translational mode. How do you translate the science for the general public through national policy and through large-scale organizational change? What's your vision for the Institute? Where do you think this whole area is going? Where would you like to see it go in 10 years, let's say?
10 years, ultimately. I mean, I think the university, the integrated center we have at the university, is a great model that the Institute can work with to really push their ideas, optimal health environments, the things that we've discovered here, resilience models. We've done that with the armed forces. We've done some great research with the military for post-traumatic stress, brain injury, using acupuncture, yoga, so different modalities to help them, and that they've done amazing amount of change in the military because of the Institute's research. So these kind of things can be translated now into a community such as Orange County. I mean, they've been translated around the military, but now it's time to get them out to the community. So we have a perfect opportunity in Orange County to do that. We've got communities such as Santa Ana, Garden Grove. The people there have a tremendous amount of diabetes. They have a tremendous amount of problem with obesity. And so if we can translate our model to help these kind of communities, then they can be from community to community. So we're already doing this translational model here with the military, and now it's time to take it out to the real world.
Yeah. So if in 10 years there were 20, 50, 100 communities like Orange County all reaching out and doing this, would you see that as success?
I think so. I think so, because in my mind, having a healthy community, healthy lives, I think everybody deserves that in the United States as well as worldwide. And what better place to start is at home.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. It's been really an honor to talk to you and interview you today, and it's an honor to work with you. So I appreciate your time and effort here and all that you've done for healing in the world.
And thank you, Wayne. It's always been an honor to talk to you and work with you. We love you.
Integrative healthcare is more than just popular. It's personalized, preventative, and restorative. As our healthcare system moves towards more proactive care rather than just sick care, patients are finding that good nutrition, healthy eating, and other modalities go a long way in the overall health, prevention, and treatment of illness. These concepts have moved by leaps and bounds in the last 20 years and will continue to grow as the focus on person-centered care becomes much more prevalent. There are predictions that by 2030, nearly half the world's population will be obese. What a better time to concentrate on a whole systems approach to healthy living.